It's my pleasure to present to you Dr. Richard Gillett, who I am positive you will thoroughly enjoy. He is an author and a psychiatrist who received his medical degree from Cambridge University in England. He is a member of the Royal College of Psychiatrists. He has written 3 worldwide bestsellers, including Overcoming Depression, Change Your Mind, Change Your World. Questioning the lengthiness of many standard psychotherapies, Dr. Gillett set out to find briefer and more effective ways of creating mental and emotional change. His search took him all over the world. In fact, he's lived on 4 different continents, enabling him to find solutions to common human predicaments from the perspective of different cultures and psychologies. Dr. Gillett has studied and practiced over 30 different kinds of psychotherapy, searching out the methods that are both fast and effective, in determining which methods work best for which condition of the mind. His most recent book, It's a Freaking Mess, How to Thrive During Divisive Times, addresses the worry and frustration many of us have had living in a divided world. In it, he reveals his researched methods for retaining peace of mind, transcending prejudices, mending broken bridges with loved ones, and creating personal and social effectiveness. During the last 35 years, Dr. Gillett has led hundreds of workshops and trainings for teachers and organizations in the US, Mexico, Canada, Europe, and India. He currently lives in Woodburn, New York, where he is granted residency as a professional of extraordinary ability before he naturalized as a US citizen. Please join me in welcoming Richard Gillett. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I am honored to be talking at this wonderful conference on civility. I think it's such an important subject. We yearn for the peace of civility. In this country and many others, people are reeling from so much discord and divisiveness. We hear it from politicians, we see it on our phones and our TVs, we feel it in the anger of those who have gotten polarized into the jagged jaws of us and them thinking. How do we get through this? How do we access our civility, our birthright, this innate ability that we have, that everyone has, to be kind, to be empathic? There are 2 fundamental ways. We can change ourselves. We can change society. Obviously, these work beautifully together, and I'm going to be talking today about the self part. How do we make a change in ourselves? And the good news, it's easy. A while ago, I was riding on the subway in New York City, and I looked over and I saw a morose-looking man. I got busy making all kinds of assumptions and judgments about this guy when I suddenly thought, hey, Richard, what are you doing? You know nothing about this guy or his life or what's happening to him. So then I deliberately changed my focus and I began to think about all the things that we have in common. I chose some pretty universal human values like cherishing self-respect, appreciating kindness. And here's the amazing thing. In less than a minute, I felt happier. I smiled a little in reaction to my happier feeling. And then this man smiled a little too. No word had been spoken. Comparison, President Theodore Roosevelt once said, is the thief of joy. We are 99.9% genetically identical to every human being on this planet. We can choose to focus on our 99.9% commonality, or we can choose to focus on our 0.1% difference. When we dwell on our differences, we begin to see the other person as not one of us, as alien to us. And then it's a short road from alien to enemy. And as soon as we see the other as enemy, then automatically and unconsciously, we find we have to protect ourselves against the enemy we created in our own minds. Then our bodies, sensing danger created in our minds, tense up, and they begin to secrete adrenaline and cortisone, the hormones of fight and flight and fear and anger. And this does not feel pleasant at all. Comparing our differences kills our joy, as Theodore Roosevelt observed. When we focus on commonality, by contrast, we automatically relax. There's no enemy to defend against, no need to be tense. We can still disagree on a subject while recognizing and experiencing our common humanity, remembering, for example, that we share the same basic human attributes like caring for family, wishing to be appreciated, loving to laugh, enjoying good food. So let's try a live experiment right now. I invite you to take part in an exercise. It's called the pleasure of finding common ground. This exercise is completely private. It is your own exploration. It takes about 5 minutes. So please be sitting comfortably with a pen or pencil, something to write on. This exercise will involve closing your eyes, so it's definitely a good idea not to do it while driving. Okay, are you ready? Start by thinking of a person, preferably a person you know, whom you feel different from and whom you disapprove of or even dislike, at least sometimes. Maybe you don't like their choice of hairstyle. Maybe you don't like their ideas or their politics, how they appear to you, how they act. Find some little or big differences that you don't like so much. Now, please close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and breathe out slowly. Another deep breath in and breathe out slowly. With your eyes closed, focus on the person's image. If you can't see an exact image, it's fine. Simply focus on imagining that the person is present for you in some way. It can be a thought about the person's presence with no clear image at all. This works just as well. Now, focus on how this person is different from you. Give yourself permission to make some mental judgments about this person, just for half a minute. Now, evaluate how you feel as you make such silent judgments, using a happiness scale of 1 to 10, 10 being happiness. How do you feel when making your silent judgments about the other person, scoring 1 to 10, 10 being happiest? When you're ready, open your eyes and write down the number. And after the number, write down the letter D, D for differences. Now, close your eyes again and shift your focus deliberately on what you have in common with this other person. I'm going to mention some possibilities. Please bear in mind 1 or 2 of these that stand out for you. You and this person both share the wish for acceptance by others, the wish for affection, the need for self-respect, the need for safety and shelter, the desire for trust, for warmth, for having fun, for self-expression, for independence. Very likely you both want to make a difference in this world in some way. Choose any one or two of such universal human wishes, needs, or values that stand out as important for you. And then imagine that these same human values are just as strong and just as important to the person you're thinking about. Now, how do you feel on the same happiness scale of 1 to 10, 10 being happiest, when you experience what you have in common with the other person? Open your eyes and write down the score from 1 to 10, 10 being happiest, and then write the letter C, C for commonality. Now compare your two scores, your differences score and your commonality score. Did your level of happiness change? Okay, this is the end of the exercise. You can repeat it any time. In the privacy of your own mind, you can practice it on real people, in a subway, a bus, at home. With repetition, it gets easier and easier to experience the pleasure of finding common ground with others. If you'd like to share your scores anonymously, simply click on the chat button and write a message, just 4 things, the number followed by D, your difference score, and the number followed by C, the commonality score. And these early figures may be very helpful in creating a future study on the value of focusing on commonality. So finally, shifting from focus on differences to focusing on what we have in common is both powerful and pleasurable. The reason it is pleasurable for most people is based on what you are relinquishing and what you are moving toward. You are relinquishing focusing on differences in which you have created an enemy in your mind, an enemy who is inevitably associated with protective tension in your body, and therefore with a feeling of contraction. And moving toward commonality, by contrast, you experience compassion and empathy, and these are relaxed, warm, expanded, pleasurable feelings. And of course, when you're in this state, it is infectious. The people around you feel better too. And they trust you more. And they're more likely to listen to what you have to say. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Richard. We love the fact that this is so easy. You made this understandable and yet so evident as to how simple and yet difficult it is, what the root of the problem. You emphasize about how we have 99% in common with one another, and yet you're spot on. We focus on our 1% of differences, and that's what's tearing us apart. A fascinating exercise. I think you really should do this for a living. That was tremendous. Thank you.